All right, so another mindset that you guys need to internalize is this concept of second and third order consequences, and the ability to decipher the second and third order consequence of a certain situation comes down to, will basically determine for you how much money you make in the bull run. It's a really, really important analytical process and sort of mindset that you need to take to investing. So let's give a little brief definition to start off. So every single action that happens, every single thing that you do creates a consequence. And that consequence creates another consequence, which creates another consequence. So if I drop my phone and it breaks, I have to go buy a new one, which means I have to spend money, right? Which means that I now have less money, which means I now have less money in crypto, which means that maybe I make less money during the bull run, maybe, like blah, 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 right? There's a consequence of the action, and then there's a consequence of the consequence. And it sort of just goes on and on and on. And in investing, you have to be able to analyze things multiple steps ahead. Because if you are only able to think of the first consequence of a certain action, you are not going to have much of an edge. And you are not going to be very early to the trade or the investment or whatever it is that you're trying to make money from. Generally speaking, in markets, the big money is made from the second or third order consequence of an action. It's not from the first consequence of that action. Maybe there is a bit of upfront money, but the big profits that you make is from when you predicted something happening multiple steps ahead. Okay? So this is how you can view second order thinking, I guess, is what this graph is showing. So basically you've got the decision that was made or whatever the action was, and then you've got, two potential paths. This is the first order consequence. So let's say you decide tomorrow to not go to the gym. Well, what is the consequence of that? Well, if you don't go to the gym, maybe you stop going to the gym entirely. If you don't go to the gym, maybe it's just one day off, right? So there's different outcomes or consequences of that decision. And then let's say path A is what happened, green tick, then I guess what it's trying to show here is, I didn't make this graph, but basically it's just trying to show that when you make a decision, there is a consequence. From that consequence, there is now more consequences, and you can see that it sort of branches off endlessly, right? Because everything that's ever happened in the world happened because something happened before it which caused it, right? Even back to like billions of years ago, the creation of the earth, everything. There was an action that led to something happening, which created something, which then blah, 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 right? So let me give you an example that's relevant to crypto, because we want to make this a crypto-centric topic. So I made a thesis around buying this coin Toshi. And my thesis for Toshi was, I would say, a thesis built from the third order consequence of a decision. So Coinbase is the market leader, and my expectation is that Coinbase is the market leader, right? So what is the consequence of Coinbase being a market leader? Well, they've got all these users, and they want to make money from the users, so they want to maximize their money. So how do they do this? Well, they're going to send all of their users to their layer 2 blockchain probably, because they want to make as much money as possible. They're trying to be the biggest exchange this bull run. Well, they're probably going to send all their users to the thing that they're building, right? Well, what is the consequence of them sending all their users to Coinbase? Well, all the users on Coinbase are probably going to buy the number one meme coin of the blockchain. Because if you look at what happened to Bonk, my internet's a little bit shitty, I hope this works, but if you look at what happened to Bonk, right, it's at a $350 million market cap. I bought this at a $10 million market cap in my mastermind, and it was a signal from my analyst Mark, actually. So we bought it here. It's gone 35x now. Why did Bonk go up? Well, Solana had all this money coming in, which made people holding Solana money, but then the ecosystem of Solana has actually gone up a lot. And Bonk being the face, the main meme coin of Solana, got a lot of that value because there wasn't really many projects that you can actually buy and invest in that are actually decent in the Solana ecosystem. So a lot of the money just went straight to Bonk. Similar thing for the Base blockchain, right? We have Coinbase going to send all its users to Base, and then they're all going to probably buy Toshi. Similar thesis to what we have here with Bonk, and we're looking multiple steps ahead to come up with this thesis, right? That's the first order consequence. Or this is, I guess, I don't know if I'm explaining this perfectly to the book of what the definition is, but this is at least how I think about it, right? This is the first event, which causes this event, which causes this event, right? And most people, they'll look at Coinbase and they go, okay, Coinbase is winning the bull run. And that's the extent of their thinking. That's all they really consider, right? Just one order of the consequence. Right, that's all they're thinking about. A few people will think about the second order consequence, but not many will think about the third order. And this is where the money is. If you can guess 3 orders ahead and get it correct, you make big fucking money. Because the further you're able to predict ahead what's going to happen, the less the market is ready for what you have predicted, and thus the larger the upside as people make that shift, right? Because when you think about it, you make money by you doing something before others do it, right? If you come up with a thesis and you come up with it today on the 5th of December, and then on the 30th of December, 5 times the amount of people agree with your thesis, you've just made tons of money. Because when people agree with what you believe in after you've believed it, they will be buying your coin at a higher price from after you've bought it, right? So that's sort of how you have to approach investing. And this relates back to one of the core fundamental analysis aspects of that I use to approach crypto, and it's basically the idea of narratives. Narratives are everything in crypto, and narratives and second and third order consequences are very, very similar, and they're important to combine together. Whenever I come up with a narrative, or whenever I'm trying to think of what the narrative is for my investment that makes me lots of money, what I have to do is I have to think multiple steps ahead. It's not just one step ahead for my narrative. It has to be 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. So when I was looking at Toshi and what is the narrative for this coin to 100x? Well, I came up with the first order consequence, and then the second order, and then the third order consequence. You can see that by me planning multiple steps ahead, I am thinking to an extent where not many people are thinking. So if this scenario plays out, no one else has done this or believed in this scenario except for me. So if it plays out, then that's a lot of people believing in something that I believed when no one else believed it, right? So imagine, to help you visualize this, imagine like there's one room, right? And there's 2 sides. There's the people who've bought a coin, and there's the people who haven't bought the coin. So, or there's the people who believe a certain thesis, and there's the people who don't yet know the thesis. So when I bought Toshi at a $2.2 million market cap, you can see I said, number 1 coin to 100x is bull run at a $2.2 million market cap. It's now at a $14 million market cap. We're up 6x. We're on the way to 100x, right? When I talk about this at a $2.2 million market cap, and I give my thesis of Coinbase to Base to Toshi, right? I am the only person on the internet with this belief, right? No one else came. I came up with this thesis all by myself. Obviously, the coin was told to me by a friend, but the exact thesis that I came up with was by me, and I was the only one on the internet who thought of this, right? Or at least the only one that I was aware of to the extent that I thought of it. And then what happens is, as the price is going up, these people who don't understand the thesis are coming across to my side. And the more people that come across to my side to understand my thesis, the more money I'm making, because when they understand what I understand, they also buy what I'm buying, right? Because if you understood the thesis of Toshi that I do, you would be a buyer. There is no way you don't become a buyer. So when you're basically doing second and third order consequences, the further you're able to predict ahead, the more steps you're able to guess ahead, right? Like, let's say each one's the more steps you're able to predict ahead, the more money you can make, because the more people that are eventually going to believe the thing that you believe if it does play out. But there's obviously more risk. If you try to guess what's happening 5 steps ahead, the chance that you get it right is extremely low, because you have to have your 5 steps play out for you to actually be correct, right? Like, when you only plan 1 step ahead, you can easily predict what the likelihood of that scenario occurring is. But when you're trying to guess, okay, so I dropped my phone, so tomorrow I go to the phone shop, I buy the iPhone 15, and maybe I get this SIM card. Okay, how many gigs am I going to get? Okay, I'm going to get this many gigs. See, like, I don't know how many gigs I'm going to get. How would I be able to predict that? I can predict that tomorrow I go to the shop to buy the new iPhone because I need a phone, right? I can predict that far ahead. But predicting how many gigabytes I get in data, that's too many steps ahead. It's going to be a very, very sort of low probability guess. So whenever you're thinking multiple steps ahead as well, something to keep in mind is that when you've done investing for quite a while, you get good at guessing which multiple step ahead scenarios have actually a decent chance of occurring. So yeah, this is a third order consequence, but I would say that even though it's multiple steps ahead, this has a very high probability of playing out. And that's what you want to try to find. You want to find multiple step ahead consequences which very few people are planning for, that you believe has a high probability of occurring. Because no one understands equals everyone is yet to buy or sell. You profit from this. High chance of occurring equals low chance you're wrong and lose money. So the further out you can predict an event which has a high chance of occurring, the more money you make. Right? This is how I would look at it right here. Let me zoom in to give you this a little bit closer. I'm going to read this again because this is actually really well written. You want to find multiple step ahead consequences which very few people are planning for that you believe has a high probability of occurring, because no one understands, which equals everyone is yet to buy or sell, and you profit from this. And also, high chance of occurring equals low chance you're wrong and you lose money. So the further out you can predict an event which has a high chance of occurring, the more money you make. So now the question is, how do you know what